I can't wait for the next one. Scotty, you got to see what you did with this.
Okay. First, I have an apology. My printer didn't work properly last night, so this morning I went over to Staples before I came here, and this still looks pretty crummy.
Wow.
But,
here, I'll be glad to distribute them. Did you get one of these?
yes.
Put those. Okay, Scotty.
This one's called My Neighbor's Keeper. That damned wheel saddens me. I almost cried, but furious anger took over instead. How can they leave it there? Okay, it's artistic looking, distressed, ancient almost. But this is not bloody Westchester Antiques Roadshow. Sure, it looks lovely against the silver birch, and the snow softens the whole atmosphere. It almost softens my heart. It almost calms me down. In a couple of months, daffodils will spring up all around, and I'll think of Wordsworth's lovely poem. As often on my couch I lie, in patient or in pensive mood. I read somewhere that he cribbed from his sister journal the lovely wording about the daffodils tossing their heads in sprightly dance. But first there'll be crocuses. Little Jenny always got excited about them. My birthday's coming, Nan, my birthday's coming, she once whispered to me. Poor little kid. She knew when the crocuses poked out their purple or striped heads, it would soon be late April and her birthday. But no more. That wheel did her in. Poor little kid. She was playing with a little wagon, she and her bigger brothers, raucous brutes, hooligans. They pushed and pushed, and the little farm wagon rolled down the hill and tumbled the child into the river running through the property. It wasn't deep, but as my gran used to caution, you can drown in a tub. And the little girl did. The boys were devastated. They'll never get over it. Little brutes, it will haunt them forever.
One line is missing.
Yeah. Let me see if I can think what it was. Oh, and the parents, something about, and the parents. The mother, always busy with charities and benefits. She never had time for little Jenny. She was like a grandchild to me, my favorite little neighbor.
Hey, you hope it isn't a true story, doesn't it?
No, pure imagination.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, except that my daughter always used to say about the crocuses, my birthday's coming.
This is certainly a different take on it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Comments?
I thought it was a true story.
Is Scotty getting her voice in here?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Definitely
Yes.
getting a
Oh,
voice,
yes.
isn't
I
she?
love bloody.
Recognizable.
Yeah.
And that's very
My
big.
grandmother always said
That's
bloody.
a very big
bloody.
thing. Even the brogue is coming through a little lot. Yes.
Well, it was an interesting development because it took several lines until you got into the kind of horror of the story. So you didn't know what to expect, and I think you developed it well.
Yes, Bob?
My only suggestion would be that in line 1, that damn wheel saddens me. I would say that damn wagon saddens me, because when it came time for the kid to get run over, I couldn't envision her getting run over just by a wheel. So in my mind, just keep context with the story.
Yes.
Isn't that a good point?
And yet, it wasn't that she got run over. The wagon went right into the water, and then the wagon turned over.
But
yes,
you're looking at a wheel.
right, exactly.
That's what threw me.
The only thing I would say, I liked your beginning, but it kind of gives the story away that something happened. I mean, your first line, I knew it was gonna be a sad story.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else felt that way, but.
No, I
didn't catch it.
She inserted a line of dialogue, didn't she, quoting Wordsworth?
Yeah.
That's always good to lighten it too, and keep it moving. Dialogue is a very good addition.
Even if it was a misquote, we wouldn't know.
Yeah, perhaps it is. Is it a misquote? It might very well.
Counting on you to check on that.
I remember tossing frightling.
Good job.
Oh, yes.
Good job.
Once upon a time,
I
I knew
liked
the
it
whole
when I
poem.
wrote it, and then afterwards I didn't.
Isn't it awful?
So,
And I thought, afterwards, I thought, there's nothing
so
profound
far
in this,
that
there's
I'm
nothing, there's nothing of substance. I thought it's like a Hallmark card. It's sentimental, and I didn't like it.
don't beat up on yourself. I think I always enjoy her stories, don't you? Okay, Norma, let's hear your take.
It's badly printed.
Don't kill it. Oh, no.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
We're gonna come back on you.
Frank, be sure to take this. This is the book we put out every year
Oh.
of our writing, and Iona publishes this for us, and there's all types of stories that we did. This is last year's class, so you may have that.
Oh,
We'll be doing
excellent.
a new one in
Oh,
June this year.
excellent. Thank you very much. Treasurer.
Yes.
All right,
Thank you.
all right. Okay, I'll call on you next.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
And I'll call on Mickey, because
I'll
she
leave
has
an
to be
autograph if
relevant.
it needs it for posterity. Everybody set?
Yeah. Oh. This is cute. Say they're wheelie. Oh, I see. She's got a lot of good dialogue.
I don't know how good it is, but it's. I got very confused with the quotes, so you'll have to imagine who's talking to whom. I called mine Interdependence. Say there, Wheelie. I still remember well the day Father Brown brought you over to lean on me. For many years I had watched you pass by morning and evening as part of the quartet of wagon wheels beneath the hay wagon. Well, Bertie, it was a banner year for me too. I finally was retired after decades of rolling in circles. To say it made me dizzy is a gross understatement. I often glanced at you staring through that horse-powered hay wagon. The third one became kindling for the fireplace after he had broken several spokes in an accident in the lane when he got mired in a huge mud puddle. Well, more than a puddle, it was a large hole. Seems the modern day is pothole. Time and inventions bring drastic changes. Certainly wagon wheels played a major part in the settlement of our country when hundreds of pioneers migrated in wagon trains, traveled westward to explore and settle in the Wild West. Years later, we were popularized by a hit show, Wagon Wheels Songs. You too, Birchie, have been immortalized by the well-known poem Trees by Joyce Kilmer. This was a real tribute to your place in the world. Now, you and I both have been honored by a published photograph of the two of us. You straight and sturdy, with ever-gazing eye, and me needing the support of your trunk to stand upright. The best news for us, however, is that I understand a very prestigious writing class in the vicinity of New York City is planning to write about us. I can hardly wait until I hear what they have to say about us. Very good. Very imaginative. Very imaginative.
Would you please look at your picture and see that eye?
Yeah, I did. I got it out to look at it. Yeah, absolutely.
That was entertaining.
I think you outdid yourself, Norma. I love the dialogue between Wheelie and Birchie.
I had to be very careful about that Birchie word.
Dialogue the whole way. Comments from you?
Very imaginative.
Very.
Different.
Love the humor.
Entertaining.
And the title is so true.
I hoped it was appropriate.
It's
One way or
very
the other.
appropriate. Very appropriate. Interdependence. Very good.
And the ending was spectacular.
Comments? You're late, but that's all right. You just missed some good stuff. That's all.
So sorry.
More comments. Such a good story.
Thank you.
Typical of Norma, I think. Typical of Norma.
You know,
Norma is
her
always,
voice is becoming, in these conversations, I think that's her way, her voice is coming out. Now, here's a woman with voice.
am I next?
Yes? Catch your voice now.
I'm not sure this is the last one. Got this right this time.
She did a picture of the wheel instead.
Excuse me.
Oh, sure.
Mine is short and not sweet.
Abby, you have one? All right, we're all set. Here's some extras. Okay.
Okay, short and not sweet. Obsolescence. The wheel was not known to civilization until the Bronze Age. Its development was a giant step forward in mankind's evolution. That being so, one can wonder at the indifference evident here. The poor old wagon wheel leans tiredly against the winter bare tree, pathetic, cast off. Despite its apparent structural preservation, it needs its component parts to be whole. It rests here, an anachronism heroic, literally and figuratively, out in the cold. Spring will come, the snow will melt, and the tree will put out new buds. Green leaves will burgeon in renewed beauty. What will happen to the wheel? Will it be consigned to a junkyard to rust and rot away? Or perhaps some brightly cheery, kind-hearted woman will give it a new use, paint it pink, and plant it with greenery and flowers in her garden. Can you hear her charming friends? Isn't this sweet? Imagine how bold it must be. It would at least then still have some function, if not its own true identity or even its dignity. Dressed in its gay pink paint, it will never again serve the purpose for which it was fashioned.
Well, that's a different take, too. Lessons, Bob. Did
Well,
you
Jackie got back to my Bronze Age and the hours of the wheel. Great minds think together.
When you got up and read right off, I thought, oh, there goes my story.
One thing that bothered me since we had this assignment, I'm looking at every TV picture that shows a stagecoach, and the front wheels on the stagecoach are short, and the rear wheels have a much greater diameter. And I try to look, but the screen keeps moving. I can't figure out how the stagecoach stays level when one wheel is lower than the other. Any solutions?
What keeps you off the street and out of trouble,
This captured, I think, the inherent sadness of this picture. The picture itself, to me,
very
was
sad
very,
picture.
very sad.
I think so, too.
But you had asked us to put some humor into it.
Well, I like humor, you know.
Well, some accomplished it.
Some of you lightened it up a little, and some of you didn't. But that's all right. You wrote whatever you thought.
But this was specifically wagon wheels, and last night, right after I finished going up and having these copied, I was watching the news, and there was a picture of the handsome cabs in Central Park with all their wheels, and I thought, oh, not wagon wheels, but the modern wheels that use.
Yeah. You know, I had forgotten there was a song, and there was a Western called Wagon Wheels, wasn't there? I forgot about that.
Excuse me, I'll be back a little bit later, okay? The camera is running, so when reading, if you could read right next to Irene, okay? All right? So.
Okay.
It wasn't the singing.
Camera's running.
I want to
Nikki has
take
to leave, so I'm going to
take
ask
some
her
of the
to read next.
And I didn't write at all.
I like that you had.
Oh, you didn't do wagon
picture
wheels?
there, because it helps. But see that line on the
No,
stage?
since you have to leave, read your story anyway.
Oh, sorry. I have one of these, so if anyone has.
Which one are you reading? This is she's
The row. Does anyone need a copy?
Yes.
Okay.
Connie is something right.
Okay, anyone else need a copy?
Inspired by the picture, because the
No.
artist.
I mean, two. Who is here? Someone's on it. It's all right. There's an extra. I'm supposed to stand near you.
You're supposed to stand where I was.
Okay.
Right over here.
Okay.
See where the camera is?
Yes.
Yeah, you stand right
All right.
here.
This has nothing to do with wagon wheels. The rows. The first class I taught in the Yonkers Public School was 3rd grade. A child named Kathy Gordon was in that class. She was a good student, socially mature, and well-liked by her peers. I had several conferences with her mother, as I did with all the children's parents. Mrs. Gordon had been divorced and had a younger daughter. The three of them helped each other. About 2 years later, when I was teaching 1st grade, Kathy's sister, Wendy, was in my class. She too was a good student and also liked by her classmates. Again, I had her mother come for several conferences, and I began to know her better. She had just remarried and was very happy. 3 years later, Mrs. Gordon gave birth to another daughter named Mandy. After about 10 months, the school learned that Mrs. Gordon's second husband had a heart attack and died. Now Mrs. Gordon was left with 3 daughters. She was deeply grieved. At the same time, my class was putting on a play, and Mrs. Gordon came with her 10-month-old baby to be there for Wendy. I didn't have time to speak to her, but it was clear that she was understandably disheartened. I threw her a kiss, and that night wrote her a letter. She came to speak to me as she knew I was widowed too. Surely I could empathize with her and tried to say little, as I was certain she wanted to talk. I tried to be as supportive as possible as I listened. About 3 years later, when I no longer had a Gordon child in my class, Mrs. Gordon came to tell me she bought a 2-family house. Her children needed more room to sleep and play. She bought the house herself, went to the clothing herself, arranged the moving herself, and even went out and to buy new carpeting herself. I knew she was coming to school the next day because her children had not received their new bus number yet. I had spoken to her and asked her to stop by my classroom that day. When she came into my room, I handed her a rose, surrounded by baby's breath, wrapped in a see-through cellophane. It was very elegant. "Best of luck in your new home," I said, as I handed her the rose and put my arm around her. I could tell she understood why I brought her the flower. Now I am not alone. I have the rose to help me. The two of us stood looking at each other with tears in our eyes. She hugged me and left my room. It's a true story.
Comments on this story?
Thank you.
We didn't know about the rose until the very end, did we?
No. But that's all right. Yeah.
That's okay. But it wouldn't have hurt to somehow work the rose in earlier too, but not told us about why.
I guess I wanted it a complete surprise.
Yes.
And it was.
I guess so. But this way, it kept us expecting something about the rose, kept us interested in waiting for it.
Kept me looking ahead.
I'm glad you et cetera, et cetera.
Other comments?
How could she, I don't know how she could have put the rose earlier.
Yeah, exactly. I feel that way too.
It would be difficult.
And I think that would have taken the anticipation away.
That's right.
Well, there's lots of ways you can do it. You can just throw in a little quote somewhere about a rose. You don't have to do Gertrude Stein, but you could.
A rose by the wind.
A rose is a rose.
Rose is a rose.
It was a story with a lot of
Except the
heart.
baby's breath.
Yeah.
Very warm story.
Story of life is
Yeah.
Yes.
I would have named it, a little thing means a lot.
Excuse me?
I would have named it, a little thing means a lot.
That's
Yeah.
that would,
Yeah.
And you don't know it's a rose, and it's a gesture, but it's been a great deal to the
That's
woman.
good. That's good. There was a song by that title too.
I mean, I think
Song
once you
about
become a
everything.
widow, you look to help other people because you can feel their pain and you can do a lot of good.
I think so too.
Yes. Now,
All right,
story in there. I understand that.
Erin, did you do the wheel?
Yes.
Okay. Just give me a handful. I think you better stand over here and you'll be in line with the camera.
Irene asked if I did the wheel. This was inspired by the wheel, but I rolled and rolled and rolled. In my future, the days were hectic, the days were full. Teaching little 7-year-olds was never dull. Raising at the same time 4 precious offspring of my own, these had to be the most crowded hours I'd known. When I stood some days putting 8 classes of kids on buses, I realized that retirement surely must have its pluses. So I made memos and notes that went on and on with a to-do list that was spectacularly long. But on top of this list was the basement cleanup. Clean the basement, clean the basement, became the family song. And make no mistake, they were not wrong. So here I am, full retirement in swing, doing what I want each day, doing my thing. But there it lies, that basement, patient, silent, messy, overcrowded, and cool. It's got my blessed mom's stuff, and Kitty's stuff, and Jenny's stuff, the grandkids' stuff, and my valuable papers, class notes, lesson plans, books, and papers from school. If I put it off any longer, 'twill create a frightful row. It teases me, it tortures me, but I won't give in now. It's something I need to do by myself, alone, as if for life's sins I have so few. I need to atone. So, all of you out there, please come and help your fellow retiree, carton by carton. That's my address and phone.
I think the penny saver has an ad for someone.
$50 an hour or something.
I like the way you stood up and said this has to do with the wheel.
Absolutely, it did. I sat there and looked at the wheel,
Well,
went round and round, and here it stopped.
I'm retired 11 years and I still have those papers and my lesson plans neatly in big bins, and I don't know when I'm going to get rid of them, but I don't really need them. I'm not moving, can't afford to move.
So when the guys are finished, send them
We
to our
haven't
house.
used them in 11 years. I think it's safe to say it's time to go.
Oh, it is time to go, but I feel her hesitancy and wanting to let them go because I haven't either.
Marion, would you like to match basements with mine?
And mine.
Or any of
I'll trade. I'll trade.
I'll win each time.
Well, I had asked here that you be reminded that the pains of growing old are worthwhile. One of the pains is not being able to get rid of life's accumulations, isn't it?
I can deal with it. It's when my kids come and say, Mom, it's a fire hazard. Mom, it's dangerous. Get down there. Mom, we'll all come. It'll take us a day and we can get rid of it. And all that sort of thing.
Have you lived in the same place a long time? That's what happens.
Yes.
Moving is a wonderful thing. I've moved 15 times in my life. I've lived in 15 different places. And, you know, when you think of the cost of moving and so forth, you think, is this really necessary? And out it goes. But then you reaccumulate each time new things. And you end up with a lot. So how'd you like the poem?
Very good. Very good. Very good. I don't think we've got a poem from him before.
No. That's good. Did you do a poem? No. Did you do something on the wheel?
Yes.
All right, let's hear it.
Need a video. Oh, I need to, oh yeah. Video. And I want to add her over there. I just put it, it's probably coming. Yes, it's coming. I called it The Wheels Keep Spinning. All the miles we have traveled, the joys and sorrows we have encountered. As we age, somehow time appears to move faster. Wasn't it just yesterday that I walked with my mother to spend my first day in school? This is one of the first milestones of my life that I can clearly recall. As the wagon leans on the birch, we are all supported by our families and friends. The struggles of being alive during a world war, when things were rationed and difficult to get, even if you had enough cash to buy them, are remembered by our generation. Today, most of us see the affluence all around us, spending on items that will shortly be relegated to the trash bin, since they are no longer in fashion or no longer hold our interest. I think our greatest fear is becoming incapacitated and having to lean on our children for physical or monetary support. Growing old is not for sissies is a phrase often bantered about. We have to put up with the diseases that come with old age, with the aches and pains. Is also the nachas, pleasure of seeing our children and grandchildren grow and hopefully become committed to making the world a better place to live in.
She followed the assignment well. Comments from you?
Could I have a copy? Sure. Thank you.
Comments?
Well, I think she has some universal points there. All of us feel that time is going faster now that we're older. It just happens.
And I think it was last year, or maybe in the summer session when we met, and I threw out some questions and you responded to them. One of them I asked was, what is your greatest fear?
Oh, yes.
And
That was we did it up at the cottage.
yes, that's right. In the summer, we met over at the cottage. And the universal one was the fear of not, of being incapacitated or being dependent on someone to care for us or something like that. That was pretty universal. And so she's expressed that.
That's the one that my humor came out and I said, cheer up, you're too old to die young.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I like that.
That's right.
I must have.
Yeah.